Hi, I'm Kyle.
I'm Josh.
This is Two Guys, One Car.
Welcome to our car.
Dude, it starts with Two Guys, One Car. That's the name. It should start
It's
with
welcome to our car.
No, but it has to start with Two Guys, One Car because that's the name of the thing.
Just get in the back seat.
Ride along with us.
Did you experience any mental struggles for you to realise that this is what?
I think I've always had a very strong mental fort. I'm very much on the day. I live in the day. I never made plans with my children, with my relationship with my wife and all the rest of it. All just happened. Life just happens. I live in, what's going on now is reality. I know what's going to happen tomorrow. The cleaner's coming tomorrow. All these things are on the agenda. That may happen or may not. So I've always been a worker. Ever since I was a kid, we served in the shop growing up. So I've always been a worker. So I've always had something to do. So I don't think I've ever had I've never had mental issues of depression or I've had sad days. Yeah, things happen. But no, I don't.
What would you most attribute that to? The lack of sort of struggles that you've had?
Well, I think growing up, I think good parenting plays a lot. I mean, I grew up with my mother was a churchy, my dad was an atheist. So they're opposites, totally opposite.
Which is probably a healthy thing, having two sides.
Well, I think so, because Dad was a loving father. He was a caring father. He wasn't. He just along the line. That was his things. Oh, go along the line. Don't make waves. We're serving in the shop to the customers, the little fruit shop, a very, very humble little fruit shop. Hello, Mrs. Grenville, how are you today? Oh, you want 4 bananas? Sure. Get a bag, put 4 bananas in a bag, serve the individual customers. I was a paper boy doing individual, meeting people. I've always been around people, and I think there was discipline in the house, like go and tidy your room. You're not going out on Saturday to hang out with your cousins around the corner until you tidied your room, put your clothes away, and do something for your mother. Vacuum the lounge room or vacuum the hall. You know, they instilled. That was Dad's rules. When I first went to work, Dad's rule was, you get your salary, you put a third to your mother, you put a third in the bank, and you can have a third. That was what he did with my pay that I went to when I went to work, because I left school early. I didn't go to university or get higher education. I ended up going off with a rock and roll band. So when I was a roadie, just loading trucks and unloading trucks and doing shows, learnt a lot.
So when did you first start the roadie stuff?
1976 or 1978. It's a little bit vague now, because Kevin Borich Express was my first, and it was a plane at Wyong, because Grandma lived at Long Jetty. We used to come up for the holidays. I just happened to be in Wyong, and they were unloading the truck. So I just went up and said, you want a hand? Carry the gear in. So this is where it started. Then I met a guy called Michael Chugg, who was Kevin Borich's manager. Now Michael Chugg is one of the heavyweights. He was like a Michael Gudinski, who died,
No.
Mushroom Records. Michael Gudinski died last year. He was Mushroom Records. He was Jimmy Barnes's manager. He was the Skyhooks manager back in the day. The Melbourne and Sydney music industry was the puppeteers to that. Is this going now?
Yeah. We're going.
The puppeteers were Frank Stavala, Michael Gudinski in Melbourne, Ray Evans, Melbourne. Then in Sydney was Michael Chugg, Peter Ricks and Eric Robinson. And they controlled the whole Australian mainstream music industry. They ran the agencies, they ran the biggest clubs, they booked the biggest bands, like the Skyhooks through the 80s, living in the 70s, They were the front runners. They were the ones who put the foundation down to that rock and roll industry in Australia. Billy Thorpe, you heard of Billy Thorpe?
No. I know, we got to do some research. And I'm usually pretty good with this stuff, so.
Billy Thorpe, mate, he was a guru.
For the drive home.
Yeah, the drive home.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And he sang a version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which is one of my all-time favourite songs. It's just beautiful. But to be involved at the ground floor is so important. If you get in on the ground floor, you've got a chance to grow up with it. Well, the stories that go from the 78 onwards, running free with Dragon. You've heard of Dragon?
Yeah, of course.
April Sun in Cuba and all that. Righto. So I tour managed, or assisted tour managed the Dragon.
Wow.
I did Marsha Hines. I did Jesus Christ Superstar. Little River Band. Radiators was the last band I worked with, and they're very close friends. We're good mates. But that spanned 20 years easy of touring with Little Band Jimmy and the Boys, won a Rose Tattoos, and then I got my own little promotions company. So I used to run venues, the Punch Bowl Hotel, the Manly Vale Hotel, which is now gone, the Long Jetty Hotel. So we would go to the Chuggy to book a band off them, and they'd come play at our venue. So we'd charge at the door, make a few dollars. It was just a rock and roll business. And then there was the touring, when I went off with tours. But the whole industry just kept growing and growing and growing. Finishing up at Narara festivals, which Narara 83, Narara 84, which is only just down the road from here. They were the first 3 days. Sunbury Festival in Victoria was the first big 3-day festival in Australia. Sunbury, famous for that down there. But in New South Wales, it was at Narara. So I got to work in 83 and 84. In 84, I was on the site for 6 months. I built the site, I put up the fences, I put in all the plumbing, 200 showers, 7 water outlets on the old Sydney Town property out the back there. I just lived and breathed it. It was just absolutely fantastic. In 84 was the year that Alexi was born, later in May in 84. So we had the festival in January. Then I wrapped up the festival. Alexi was born. Then through a friend of mine, Peter Showquist, who he was a mentor for me. He was the one that really got me on the straight and narrow, because he used to do a lot of hoochie cooch and other deviant sort of drugs and things. Not to a bad degree, but it could have been to a bad degree. But the one fella sorted me out was Peter Showquist. Peter was an accountant, and he worked on Crocodile Dundee movies. But then Peter, because he came to be the account manager for us for 84 at Narara, he got me a little bit on the straight and narrow. Well, what are you doing with your life, Roger? You know, you're going to buy a house, just get the house. Just buy any house to get your foot in the door. And that was good advice. We did that. I bought a place at Willoughby. We had our little family grew. The 2 daughters. Unfortunately, it lasted about 7 years, and then it just got intolerable living as a family unit, so we broke away from the family, and I went and lived in a factory up in Balmain, in the front room of a factory. Hence, that's where I got all this having stuff around me.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That may be another.
It could have been. It could have been. I was everything I owned was. I was living on top of everything. So I was just. And as things have happened, I mean, when my friends, I've helped my friends move house. So each time they move house, there's stuff they don't want no more. They're going to dump.
Give it to Roger.
Yeah.
Roger will take it. Yeah.
You said when you were, you said life just happens, and when you were touring, when you were younger, was there any thought of where's this going to lead to, or did you have any desire of where you wanted it to go, or was it simply just I'm along for the ride and we'll see what happens?
Pretty well what you had to finish there. It was always another opportunity. It was always something to look forward to. It was never long term. The tours are only short, so you're only going out for 6 weeks or 2 months or 1 month, or just a leg up to Queensland and back for the actual touring. Where's it all going? Once the kids were born, once we got together, because Alexi came along very quickly once we were married. In fact, she might have been around before we were married. Might have been started there before we were married, whatever. But that's when Shoei got me sorted out. and he put me in touch with someone that he used to work with, because once upon a time at the AFL, the VFL Grand Finals down in Melbourne, they used to have the halftime entertainment.
Yep.
So he got me working with the guy who used to do the balloons for that, when they have the mass releases of balloons. So he introduced me to Ken, who was Mr. Gaspo in Sydney at that time. And Ken needed somebody with a bit of creativity, a little bit of drive. He was a straight businessman. I'm a little bit more flamboyant, a little bit creative, arty, coming up with ideas, ways to do things. And so we cottoned on for 12 years. I was a balloon artist, where I'd go to all the events, I'd see all the people from the music business, but I'd only be there to do the balloon display, whether it was a halftime entertainment for the Sydney Swans or whatever. But it was a regular job, which I then needed because I had the children. We had a mortgage, so I needed that stable income. So that gave me that, which I happen to love, by the way. Balloons are they're a great industry to work in, because they're always happenings. You're going to people's parties, birthday party, or you're going to a conference. And I became the first certified balloon artist in Australia. That's a big deal, but that's like Interflora. Interflora has, you do the program, you learn, so you're an Interflora florist. Well, the company in America who made the balloons needed, Pioneer Company, they needed somebody in Australia to be their number one, their golden boy or whatever. So I did the course. I got that certification. So then I became the not the Lego master, but the balloon master for Australia, for all the people who want to do the course. They're set curriculum, so they've got to display their wares in front of somebody. So I got to be the adjudicator. We got all the jobs. I did the Commonwealth Games in New Zealand. I did the opening of the casinos. I did World Expo in Brisbane. Wow. I've done amazing jobs. Amazing jobs. The balloons were fantastic. I did a tapestry up at Brisbane for the opening of Expo. Was 420,000 balloons in a ribbon. There's got the river. Here's the Expo site. Here's Brisbane City. So they designed something, and all the flags, to make the national flags, they were 8 metres by 4 metres, each flag for each country, and they were all rolled up in big wooden, in big cardboard, shivers. That's right. In all cardboard boxes along the bridge. Yep. So when the mayor left Brisbane City, as he walked across the bridge, so we hoisted up the flag of Australia, and then as I went past that, then the flag of the Commonwealth, and then the flag. So it ended up, I made the cover of the telephone book, all made out of balloons. That's amazing. It was amazing. One-off things. It's like, life. It's just, that was like 8 months' work to develop the concept, to make sure it worked and make it all happen. But it was just another one of those things. First to do this, first to do that. We dropped air-filled balloons out of 3 Hercules bombers. My goodness. They flew up. We filled them up in Sydney. We had a crew fill them up in Sydney, and they flew over the Expo site in Brisbane, come down to 600 feet, opened the back of the bombers, the Hercules, and all my balloons come tumbling out because we designed over the site. It was unheard of.
I can't imagine what it would be like to just like go through all that work and then see that just happen.
Well, they were very hard to control. They didn't quite land. They just say the whole table is the Expo site. The planes are coming in because they've got to judge the crosswinds, the altitude.
There's a lot of variables.
Yeah. So as they come along, the balloons started tumbling out, and you can see them all. But when they landed, they only just landed on the last corner, but that was out of my control.
Yeah. Did you feel much pressure with hosting all of those events, having the weight of kind of, I don't know, that event on your shoulders, being the balloon guy? Did you ever feel much pressure?
Yeah, it wasn't so much pressure. When I went into the balloons and started, it was 397 days straight. no days off.
Oh my goodness.
397. Then we had 4 days off. That was after the expo, and then I did 167 days. They're all in my diary. I've got them in the diaries there. Yeah, it's just I just do the job. Pressure, yes. Yeah, there was a job that they flew me up there to do with exploding balloons in the city hall, which is way up in the dome atrium in the hall, and I had exploding balloons up there for the finale. But you learn, but it was a mistake, big mistake, and you learn from it. But because we only had batteries to send the charge to the balloons, because the balloons are way up here. They're loaded with confetti and other little balloons, so when you hit the detonator, that explodes and stuff comes tumbling down. Beautiful. Like finales, I used to do them all the time, balloon drops, confetti drops. Well, the distance from me here with the terminal to where the balloons were was too much for the amount of electricity that travelled down the thickness of the, because I'm not an engineer, but there's a thing what they call frictional loss in a cable, electricity. That's why you can get at the end of a 1 mile long piece of extension cord, plug it into the wall, you get nothing. Yeah. Because it's frictional loss. It hasn't got enough oomph. So my battery didn't send me enough oomph to burst the balloons at the finale, and it's like, oh shit, that's all they've flown me up there for. I haven't let. So I lowered it. The night's over. They're coming down. I lowered the truss section down to half the distance. Pushed the button, pop, and away they went. So there's nobody in the hall.
So you're there by yourself, yeah.
This is a good story. I did Elton John one of his final concert runs in Sydney. I had 12 nets in the Sydney Entertainment Centre, which is now gone. You remember that, Nathan?
Is that
Haymarket?
Oh no.
No, I've known him.
All right.
We would have been there. We would have been there when we were really young.
You might have seen Dire Straits, or that's where all the bands used to play. Elton John, 12 balloon nets in the ceiling, which are air-filled balloons in a net. Pull the string, the balloons fall down. I needed operators at each net, up in the gantry. I'm over the stage. We've got 2 nets up in the stage, one over that side, one over this side. Elton John's down on the stage. And I had everything set. My people are in there. They get their cue to pull the string at the right time, so the balloons come dropping down. Checked everybody's net to make it all no play safe. Go. Here's our cue. Go balloons. Everyone's dropping. I get on mine. Pull mine. It's not coming. Fuck it. I hadn't taken the safety off my net, so. Elton John is down below there on his piano, and all I could do was I had a pair of scissors. I just pulled the fishing line as tight as I could, went out and went snip. The fishing line sprung back and opened up about the nets. Say the nets from here to there long, but it sprung back like fishing line does, opened up about a 4-foot gap in the net, and the balloons tumbled out. like Elton John stood on his stool, put his foot on his piano, went to the audience, and these balloons just tumbled straight over the top of Elton John. The producers of the show said, "How did you do that? How did you do that?"
I saved it for the surprise.
I took accolades for it, but really, it was a failure. But just the way that
the timing,
the universe looks after me. I ended up being I'll never forget that.
That's amazing.
Because I thought everybody else got balloons on them except Elton. You know, he's the star of the show. That was lucky.
Who is now while it's fresh in my mind, who do you think is, you've probably seen a whole lot of people perform before, who is one of the best, or maybe give your top 3 best live performances you've ever sort of witnessed?
Bruce Springsteen.
Number 1, is that?
Bruce Springsteen, because the first time we went to see Bruce Springsteen, when Emma turned 16, we went to have a joint together. It was turn We went to Randwick, and the PA system broke down 3 times in the Bruce Springsteen show, if you can believe that or not. And it got to the finale, and it broke down again because the show had been like it broke down again. He's really getting pissed off, right? So, but then they figured out the problems, but played some more. Then in the finale song, it broke down halfway through the finale song, which just pulled the rug out of the end of his show. So when he came back to Australia only a couple of years ago, I went up to see him at up at Hunter Valley. $600 a ticket, which is a lot of money for me, but I bought 4 tickets.
Oh wow!
And but they were VIP tickets, which meant we were in the warehouse. We had beautiful seafood, big meal, bottle of wine. Meanwhile, all the punters are outside. It's hailing. It is fucking hailing. So it's like, you are kidding, righto. But then comes showtime. Half hour before the show, the weather stopped. The rain stopped, so we went out. We had VIP seats, of course. So I love Bruce Springsteen. He was great. I'd say probably Elton John, because I did his show. I did a lot of his shows, and Supertramp. I went and did Supertramp as a punter, but I went and paid for the show, the matinee show, and then I sat in the foyer for the evening show and just listened to it out in the foyer because the music was just.
Are they metal? Supertramp?
No. They're you bloody well right. You know you gotta ride. Saxophone. They've got saxophones. A saxophone is a soulful instrument. I mean, I put saxophones as one of my favourite. I don't play it, but you can express the emotion through the instrument, the sound, the music. The saxophone's beautiful. Violin is a beautiful instrument. You can convey it. And of course, classical music these days, it sounds like a really naffy thing to say, but the power, there isn't anything more powerful than classical music. When you listen to what's going on and realise there's 150 people, musicians there, making that sound, it is powerful. So I love Tchaikovsky. I love very strong music.
That's what really creates the emotion. I think even just watching movies, a lot of the real suspenseful moments is always like a classical, like orchestra playing, and that's what really creates either the fear or the joy, the suspense, whatever it is.
Yes.
And what is, like, for music, playing yourself, you mainly play the drums. What is that for you? Is it just a form of expression?
It's an outlet. I started drums when I was 12. My dad bought me. I used to play the saucepans at home. Got me a drum kit. Half-hour practice every day, regardless. Even though we lived across the road from the shopping centre, it was only a small shopping centre, but everybody knew everybody. Wadlands Meats, the Spot, Jesse's, Harding's Chemist, Mrs. Fraser. But I would have to practice. And I would put Dad's 78s or his LPs on the record player and play along. And then I played drums, drum lessons. Started the band at school, in primary school, the marching band. I taught Wayne Gaunt how to play the bass drum, boom, boom, boom. So, and we used to march the kids into school.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and then we started with other bands, Ecclesiastes, a little church band. I played in that. And then Stonehenge. Now Stonehenge has been together now 47 years. We're on Spotify. You can have a listen to that on the way home.
Oh, no, I will.
Boomers Unite, volumes 1, 2 and 3. That's back from the 80s.
Yeah.
So the playing, I love playing. I love playing. I do percussion down at Bucketty's now. Quite a lot of percussion. Well, just add a layer for whoever the main act is, if they want. If they don't want, well, that's fair enough. But it makes a contribution. Yeah. So that gives me an outlet down there, which I really love that. I really love that.
And you did speak to us a lot about like music and like obviously down at Bucketty's at Brookvale, it's like a big thing at the moment, having a lot of live music there, and also you want to breed that here in Bucketty, like on the premises.
You got to have music. Music is a universal language. Music brings people together. Music gives people the ability. You might be Italian, can't speak a word of English. I can't. You might be German, don't speak a word of English. But we can all listen to the same song, and you know what? We'll all be clapping in time. We're connected. The music brings people together. And whether it's just a solo person or someone stomping, I've been wanting to. One of the things on my bucket list to do is to build a contraption, like you see, I guess, in cartoons, where the guy might be pedaling the bike, and as he's pedaling the bike, the thing's going boom chaka, boom, and something else is going do 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 do. I'd love to have a contraption like that, so I could be pushing the bike along and making sounds, boom, a tap, a tambourine, a bass drum, a boom chak, ting tak, boom chap, ting tak, boom.
Wouldn't that be great?
So
add a few other instruments to it.
Absolutely.
That'd be amazing.
So things like that. So for the music.
What's great is that something about music that I find so interesting is like the points you said about it. It's obviously it's just a universal language for us, but at the same time it transcends age. So no matter how old you are, you can enjoy music from when you're 0 to 90. It doesn't matter, and everyone has their own unique taste in music. But I think most of us can appreciate everyone else's taste. There's a lot of acceptance in music if you really truly enjoy music, which is great. It's cool to see you still loving that, even after you played drums as a young boy, but now you're here trying to still make that live music happen, which is great. It is great.
I had it last weekend down there. It was New Year's Eve, and the afternoon there was a young fellow, Hunter Black. He's a young guy, 23, busker.
Yeah.
Musician, very talented young guy. So he on the guitar, and I'm on the drum. I'm on the kit, playing the kit, not the percussion ones, but a proper kit. And we gelled really, really well. And so that's nice, because I play with soft sticks, because I don't want to overpower what he's doing. I'm not sure of his arrangements. We're just talking about no rehearsal. We're just sitting down. Here's the song. He's just jamming. Jamming, and that's happened now 3 times. I've been able to jam in on the kit with other people, and the bloke's come back a second time. Neil's come back with his group, and he sent me a little video the other day of the little snippets of our show that we did together. It was a 3-hour afternoon, and it's just I just look at it and go, that's fantastic. I'm just there. Very rewarding, self-rewarding for me. So I'm very happy at that level. I'd like to write a song. I keep strumming the guitar and get the harmonica out. I've cottoned onto a bit of the Australiana thing where you tap, come on everybody, that kind of in and out. I've got a bit of that going at the moment, a bit hillbilly-ish, but it's still good. So to me, let's face it, you got to be happy within yourself first. If you don't like who you are, you're never going to get satisfaction out there. You got to be happy with who you are, how you are, the way you think, your goals, or treat people how. If you treat people how you want to be treated, you'll treat people nice, as opposed to being an arsehole. Excuse my French there, but you don't want to make, because people will treat you like an arsehole. So it's you got to kind of learn acceptance. People are different. I mean, I had a lot to come to grips with the sexual revolution that's going on now with the different movements that never existed when I was at school. There was a lot of things are swept and kept under the carpet. Now it's all about people coming out and being who they really are. Okay, well I accept all that and let them be, but don't try and ram it down my neck, because that's not how I am. But I guess this is a transitional time now that you've got to learn how to accept people who have who do have a different mindset, or a different set of values, or a different structure in their lives, and so you just got to learn how to adapt. And
Yeah, I think it's coming at it from like a non-judgmental point of view. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, actually. There's this guy in America, I think his name's Mark Latia, and basically he's a photographer, and he's the past X amount of years, 5 years or so, he's gotten into going down to Skid Row in LA, which is where all the homeless people live, and doing interviews with like drug addicts, sex addicts, like just all sorts of people. And he just like talks to these people from a really like non-judgmental point of view. And he was talking to this guy, and he spoke about this one case where he spoke to, I believe it was this pedophile that was having sexual relations with his daughter from when she was 6 years old to 14. And he was saying how, I don't condone what he did, like I don't condone that at all, I think that's really messed up, but who am I to judge this guy? And as he sits down and speaks with him, it's like, oh, you can understand how he would get to a point where he would do that once you actually like listen to their backstory. And I think what I really took from listening to this guy speak is that there's more to people than meets the eye. It's kind of the never judge a book by its cover, and know that whatever someone's done, there's always more to it. And for me, I don't need to agree with it. Exactly. I just need to go in with an open mind and not judge them, and as you said, accept them for who they are and what they're doing.
Look, it's hard. I use lots of metaphors, I guess, is a way of, like, I've always wanted to do a seminar for people and get out, because I did a 15 months or 18 months on the road with Vision Publishing, and which is all to help people. And I thought in my seminar I'd give everybody out, well, here's your workbook, and it's blank, there's nothing, and start from the very, very start, because you've got to learn to like yourself. You've got to find the things that are important to you, the words that are your trigger words, the words that you understand. If you can accept yourself, how you are and who you are, and know yourself, then you're set. There's nothing you can't do, because it's from up here. It all starts up here. You got to... Yeah.
It almost helps you escape anything that you don't like about yourself also. So in terms of, by you accepting who you are, means you're taking more control over who you are. So in a sense that even if there are some things that are out of your control initially when you were a bit younger and have been experiences that you've faced, it helps you almost, if you do accept yourself a little bit more for how you are, it helps you deal with those things that you need to deal with. Otherwise, some of us get to 30, 40, 50 and don't acknowledge the things in the past that we need to acknowledge.
Our jails are full of criminals, people who have tried to take the easy way, don't do the hard yards. You know, there used to be a place in Homebush, Bricky's Road, where the Olympic site was now built. There used to be a drag strip, and you go down there and drag the cars. You know, people drag their cars. Well, one night I went down there with Wayne Gaunt. There was a car dumped down there. Then we were going to go down to strip it, steal the seats out of the car or something. So while we're down there, a bloody cop car come down. It's a dead end road. Anyway, the cop car come down the street. So I dived in the back seat and hit on the floor of the car. Wayne was on the outside. So the cop has pulled up. Well, what are you doing here? Talking to Wayne. Oh, yeah, don't. So anyway, then he's walking up to the car with the torch, shines the torch in the back seat. He's got me caught red-handed in the back seat there. Great. So they got me out. Well, I'm only 16 at that age, 17. Maybe line me up against the car. What do you think you're doing? You're just a thief, are you? Do you know how much trouble you're going to be in? I'm going to take you home to your parents. What do you think your parents are going to say? Now, he scared the crap out of me. I never ever thought about doing a wrong thing with a car or anything like that. But that was a lesson, getting caught red-handed, that I just didn't go down that avenue. But other people get away with a little petty crime here, then they go a little bit more petty crime. They find the easy street. I don't know.
It's a lot of self-destruction as well. I think a lot of people, those people probably don't feel like they deserve, the nice house, the nice life, the good job, whatever it is, and they're just looking for any way to kind of destruct their own life and sabotage themselves. And that's where you know, drugs, alcohol, stealing, all of that stuff.
But to your
comes in.
point, it does start off small, and that's the idea. Is like, and you spoke to your childhood, like you said before. You feel like the reason why you don't really have anything that you deal with is because of your good parenting. It's good to start there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was smoking hooch at 18, 19. When I joined the band Stonehenge, when I went for the audition, I was a Sunday school boy. I went in a 3-piece suit up for the audition, and that night, after having a tryout for the band up at Borkham Hills, we went out the back room and had a first tape on a bit of hoochie cooch. That was the first time I ever listened to Pink Floyd.
Oh.
Now you talk about, so I was gone. I'm thinking, Jesus.
Damn, music would have sounded good.
Yeah, man, this is fantastic. So that became the path of my life, really. You know, those next years playing with the band, we had a great time. With Stonehenge. It was just wonderful. We never made it to be a successful band, like a mainstream band, but we had some fabulous times.
Yeah, and you said you learned a lot during those times, which is so valuable. And like, what were kind of the key takeaways that you feel that you learned from that period of your life?
It was specifically with the band, it was getting used to not having very much money, so we were thrifty. We went up to the Patch Hotel to play a residency up there at Coolangatta. We played our first week. I had a beard. I took up and had a bet with the owner of the hotel. He didn't like beards, so he said, I'll give you a game of poker, $100 for your beard. I went, oh, okay, well, I don't play poker, but okay, yeah, $100, I might get a good hand, who knows. Anyway, long story short, I lost, but he said, well, that's okay. He said, I only want half of it. So for 24 hours, I was half-shaven man walking around Coolangatta with a half a beard, and it was just, we had, I mean, music was fun. It was, that was good times. It wasn't any serious. There's no mortgages. I was still living at home, off and on. I hadn't left home at that stage. So,
like the lack of responsibility, I guess, in terms of your point on mortgages and whatnot. Just being able to just live like how you wanted.
That's exactly how it was. And Mum and Dad were, look, do whatever it is you want to do. They never stopped me doing anything I wanted to do, but by the same token, they never instilled that got to go to school, get a smarter education, stay at school, go to university. What are you going to do with your life? We never sat down and had those kind of talks. It was just, you just did what was required of you.
Yeah, it seemed a lot more like moral and principle based. You said discipline was brought in from a very early age, compassion, gratitude. And I think, like, when I look at it, if I ever raise kids one day, those are the things that I want to lean more heavily towards versus like, go to uni, do this, get a good job, earn a lot of money, because that's what matters more to me. And you see the comparison, you know, you see someone like yourself, and then you see someone who took the other route, and like 9 out of 10 times you're a much more happier, healthier person.
It's also just wise, like, just in the sense of people go, oh, you don't need all that stuff. It's like you actually learn a lot more lesson by doing so, by following sort of how you want to go. Like for you, having no plan in the near future is just like, it's such a way to live. Obviously you can attest to it.
Yeah. No, I've got a couple of books. I've got probably 3 or 4 books on the go. They've been very slow writing of the books, but I always keep going back. Oh, include that in this one, or include that in there. One's a motivational book where I just constantly always think about the good things, motivational things. When I said before, I was going to say the pizza example as one of my metaphors for people. If you imagine everybody's a pizza. Most pizzas have 8 slices. All right, let's go for 8 slices. So most people have got the 8 slices, but the hate and anguish might only be a really narrow strip. Your generosity might be a wide strip. So they've all got the same potential in us. We've all got the ability to yeah, I do have I don't live it, but I do have the ability. If I had to kill somebody, I would kill them if they done the right thing to my kid. But it's not something I'm on edge about all the time. But the potential is there. It's just not very good to say that you've got potential.
No, but it is there. It is true.
No, it's yeah.
It's in all of us. Our ability to laugh. Some people can't laugh. Some people can't smile. Some people, they're not happy in their own space. But once you've accepted yourself for who you are, what you are, how you are, man, it's all easy from that, because you're the only person. You come in alone, you're going to go out alone. Eventually, you might have a huge family. Some people get married twice, 3 times. Some people have 1 child. Some have none. Some have 10. You know, everyone's different.
Definitely.
But
Everyone's stuck with themselves.
Yeah.
everyone's still stuck with himself. So once you learn to like yourself, and I think I just accept myself how I am. All right, I'm forgetful. I don't remember people's names very much these days. I've certainly had my issues as a father and stuff, but the kids have come up well. We've got good kids. I feel proud. I'm leaving my legacy here for my kids is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm very satisfied, and so that's why I feel I'm just happy to be here doing this with you guys. I've got no, let's do it. Let's talk about it or something. It might be good. But the books coming out. I got the Red Eye Raider, which is like a modern day Robin Hood, which is a crossover from the motorbike riding days. Okay. Instead of riding horses, we're riding motorbikes. We're Robin Hood. We've got the Motivation, and I got my Santa's Awesome Christmas Down Under, which is the one I've been working on this last 5 years. Which, while I was away on the trip to Broome, by the way, I've got all the locations for the movie, because once I finish the book, I want the movie.
Okay.
And I'm trying to reach out to Shane Jacobson to be the role of Santa, and Keith Urban's missus, what's her name? Nicole Kidman to be Mrs. Claus. Mrs. Claus is the heroine of the story. So it's an awesome story. I've written it over the real experiences of being the Santa. The stuff that's in there is tender. It reaches your heart. It'll trigger emotions, joyful, happy. And plus, I also disclose how Santa delivers all the presents to all the children all around the world in the one night. My version.
A couple of Bucketty's tins into you.
Fuel.
Well, there's no Bucketty's there yet, but I have tried to dovetail in some little side adventures, things. So.
And with the movie and the book, what's your vision with that? What do you want people to take away from that or feel from that?
Oh, well, specifically in the movie, at the end of the movie, I want people to feel happy, probably have a tear in their eye, because they would have gone through a roller coaster of drama, of almost like Santa. Santa is trying to catch up to this truck that's got his transporter chair in it, which got taken away when Santa came down to Mount Isa shopping centre 3 days before Christmas this year. While he was out on the floor seeing the kids, the centre management put his transportation chair in the truck. This truck took off.
So he's chasing it.
So he's got to trace it. He chased it all around Australia, outback Australia. That's why I've got all this beautiful scenery shots.
Great.
Oh, so he almost catches up to it, and then there's go left or I go right. Which way is he going to go? And he goes this way, but the truck went that way, so he loses the trail again. He runs up for it. So 3 days before Christmas, who delivers the presents this year? Santa didn't make it home, back to the North Pole. So who delivers the presents? Mrs. Claus. That's why she's the heroine of the movie. Her and the bad elf. There is a bad elf. They go off and deliver the presents, which is an hilarious wrong presents in the wrong houses. All sorts of things go wrong. Nothing too serious. Presents get delivered though. Then over the next 12 months, panic at the North Pole because the elves are freaking out up there. Where's Santa? He's gone. He's not alive. We haven't heard from him anymore. Santa's still tracking down the truck. Series of things are happening in this thing. 3 days before Christmas of the next year, Santa has found, he's reacquainted with his transportation chair, and he ends up back at the North Pole. Everything is good, and then there's the finale scene where the wish that the little girl had asked for Santa from the hospital in Christmas in July is all revealed.
Yeah.
And so they've got a really nice happy ending. Christmas story, you know, Christmas stories always have to have a happy ending. Santa delivers the presents. The elves are happy, the reindeers are happy, the kids got their presents. Status quo is re-established.
That's awesome.
So it's an Australian Santa movie. There's only ever been one before, I think, from my research.
I can't wait to see that.
Well, it's been a couple of years yet. I'm having trouble getting onto Nicole. I've got it in. We used to do balloons for Nicole. This is how crazy the world is. That's why I feel so. I know I'll get her. We used to do balloons for her mother when her mother was putting on birthday parties for Nicole when she was growing up.
Wow.
When she lived at Greenwich. So we've still got we've still got her mother's phone number, contact. Wow. So yeah.
And who would have thought back when you were doing balloons that contact could potentially lead to you having?
Who would have thought that? Who would have thought that? No. There wasn't even a thought of a movie back then. But now it's there, and it's like all I've got to do is make it happen. Well, I can't until I get the book finished. I really can't talk. It's all lip service. I needed something a bit more concrete when I actually step up to go and talk to Nicole. Yeah. But I got a feeling that she'll go with it because she'll be an executive producer. Yeah, she'll put money into it. I've got a manager to help me already, Marsha's manager, Peter Ricks, who I've known forever. Peter's my manager. He said he'll help me. I've got Showquist there as the accountant who made Crocodile Dundee. He's on side to help. So I'm just going to keep doing that. Santa's book will get out this year now for this year. I met the illustrator while I was away on my bike ride. I met him over in Western Australia. He said to me, he's travelling with his 3 kids, his missus in a bus. They've been 2 years on the road. He's ex-army. And he was in one Fire Sands. We were at the Fire Sand caravan park, and I just pulled up with my bike next to his big bus. We just, hello, how are you? A bit chit chat. So I started to tell him a bit about, I told him about the movie. I said, I'm looking for an illustrator. He said, are you? He said, yeah. He said, well, that's what I do.
That's me. That's wild.
I'm an illustrator. He said, I've always wanted to do a book that I could show my children. These are all my drawings. I said, welcome.
G'day, Roger.
I went home that night, so I did a little draft for him, a little bit of an overview for the story. And then the next morning when we went over there, and he had done a drawing of Santa riding Harley Davidson, because that's my other passion. I love bike riding. And he had done a drawing of that. So we had sowed a seed. Now, whether or not that becomes the fruition, he's been hard to keep a track on because he's in Perth. Yeah. He's on the other side of Australia. He's got his family. He's struggling with the things he's got to do. But the illustration side of it, I feel confident that because it's only 24 illustrations, but he's got a couple of them already done, and they look like they're promising. So I met a publisher, a printer down in at the brewery. Just someone I met, just sitting down talking. Oh, what do you do? No, we publish books. Oh, do you?
Roger.
It's fantastic. Fantastic. Meeting you guys is fantastic. We're sitting here doing all this. I don't know what's going to come out of all this. You might get a few extra followers. Is that what you call?
Exactly,
you know, someone might go, geez, they could contact you to contact me.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think it's just a good, and we've taken a lot of time with you before we've sat down to hours to look around the place and obviously get a little bit more and just the richness of the history that will show in the visuals as well. We'll give a really good backstory to you guys. And
the Bucketty's backstory, just Bucketty's as Bucketty's isolated from my stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Is awesome. The backstory here is fantastic. And by all means, guys, if ever you want to come up, just let us know. Come up.
Appreciate that.
Bring a tent if you want. Camp down by.
I'm sure we're gonna have to at some point, because it's beautiful here.
Dip in the dam.
There's so much we can do here too. Yeah, we got to go the 8 foot deep in the dam. Reach the eels down the bottom of that.
curious to get your thoughts on this. So do you think your ability to accept yourself has allowed you to not get stuck in a perfectionism loop where, you know, you have like the idea for the books, your music, and a lot of people get stuck where they're trying to create something perfect and they're too afraid to release it to the world because they're not happy with it themselves and they're afraid that people aren't going to like it. Whereas you talk about like your self-acceptance that you have in your life, and I think that probably is the key for why you're able to put everything out into the world and not fear like, oh, is people going to love it, are people going to hate it? You're happy with it and you're not trying to make it perfect because perfect doesn't exist.
Yeah. My fair answer to that is I don't have very much money. For me to put in the flying foxes for the kids here or to put in the slippery dip needs a bankroll. I don't have that. I had my business when I was in the balloon business. I was the guru, or let's say the guru, or let's call it that. But I was the number one person. I scaled up and did a model for a franchise business of Art of Balloons. That was my business, Art of Balloons. I was the presenter. I was they used to fly me up to Hong Kong, to Singapore, up to Indonesia to run the conferences. It might be a week long, teaching other people how to put the balloons together, how to do stuff. But I never backed myself. The franchise business, it's still sitting over there. It's a perfect model. It ticks all the boxes for what would be a successful franchise, except to make a franchise you need like $100,000 for the legal side of things. I never took the punt. When I had my business, all my workers were casual workers. I never structured a business. I didn't have that drive to go, all right, well, I'm going to go borrow 50 grand from the bank, get a proper retail shop, employ a girl to run the books. That wasn't part of me. I'm just a doer or something. I never had the guts.
It's almost you're the engine, but you felt you needed someone else to steer the car.
I guess so. In that sense, I would have been happy to partner up with anybody. Even now, to make the movie, I don't care what I give away. To get the book done, I don't care. I just want to see the story written, the drawings done. There's a book. Put it in the shops. Whatever happens. And you get. It's not about money. I've never been driven for making. I like to have money. I work down the brewery there, and I don't want to save too much. I get a little bit of cash for what I do down there. I shove it under my mattress. I don't use banks. I'm a pensioner, and I'm not driven for making thousands and thousands of dollars. Even though thousands and thousands of dollars would give me, I could go and buy things. My motorbike in the shed there, it's a 2015 CVO bike. My friend bought it for $42,000 brand new off the floor. He owned it for a year and a half, rode it to Queensland with his missus, the caravan, and they were house sitting up there. His circumstances changed. He's decided to sell the bike. He went to the dealership, and he advertised it. Went to the dealership said, well, we'll give you $21,000 for it. He paid $42,000. It's only got less than 30,000 Ks on it. Wow. Still a brand new bike. And
depreciated quick. Yeah.
Well, that's because they've got to resell it.
Yeah.
So they need the margin. So he's telling me the story. I said, oh, I'd buy it off you. And he went, oh, would you? He said, all right, yeah, all right. Well, he said, well, Roger, you can have it for 20, because he was a good friend. We were friends with Jack Daniels. I took him. I was the one that got him into riding bikes when we went to Jack Daniels in Nashville, over there. We spent a lot of time. He used to run Tasmania, so we become very good friends. Good friends. Got him into riding bikes. He bought the bike and come back. Yeah, I'll sell you the bike for 20. And I said, that's fantastic. I said, here's the problem. I said, I've only got 10. So I said, I'll give you the 10 and I can give you $50 a pension check. Mm-hmm. He said, that'll do. So I'm still paying it off. I've got about a year to go. Mm-hmm. About $50 a pension check. And the bike's there, and that's the bike I went around Australia on. It's a magnificent bike. Absolutely.
Yeah, priceless to you.
Yeah. It's just, it's like, well, that's the way it all happens. Yeah, I've just happened. So that was the story about how I got the CVO.
Yeah.
I did have the old bike. I had the old girl, which I bought off. Do you remember Danos? There used to be a guy on the television do all the Danos commercials, Channel 10. Anyway, Michael Quinn was his name. Quinny built this immaculate bike, a Fat Boy, and he sold it. Then he had his second child. They were living in a little unit in a little flat in Balmain. He had to get rid of the bike, so I said, Michael, I'll buy it off you. So I bought it off him, and I put 480,000 k's on it, which is a lot of miles.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. When he sold it to me, to be fair, it did have 130,000 k's on it. But I put the extra k's on. I love riding the motorbike. It was an easy rider. I went to WAG school, went to see it. I just loved that freedom.
There's something about that riding.
Yeah. You're on your own. It's like scuba diving. When you go in scuba diving, you are totally engrossed in your tank full of air. You're under the water. No one can get to you. You're free as you'll ever be.
There's nothing else you really have room to think about. It's just that.
No, absolutely beautiful. So I've just enjoyed it. Never really. I didn't study at school or anything. So I would have been a good policeman, I think.
Yeah.
I've got a good eye for detail. I spot things. Oh, what's that over there? And, a detective and something.
Yeah.
I think I would have been good at anything, really.
Yeah. Coming back to when you said you didn't back yourself, do you live with any regret, knowing that you didn't take that risk?
No regret over it. No, I'm just still there. I could still, I could go over there tomorrow, get the box out, open it up, and if someone come along and said, "Well, let's do this," I could start it, and I would drive it because I'm the number one card holder. I've got that number one card in my pocket. I was the first CBA in Australia. I could go to like every 2 years now they do a balloon convention. I started when I was in the balloons. We started an association, a national association. So I was the secretary for that, and it's just one thing just leads to another. If I wanted to go to next year's balloon convention, they'd make me. I don't want to blow my trumpet, but they'd make me a guest speaker. To get up and try to tell the people who are new coming into the business, well, how are you going to run your business? What do you want to know about balloons? There's not much about balloons that I don't know.
No, just through experience. Yeah.
So it's like you'd be a guest speaker for the people that have wanted to come and talk about balloons. That's fantastic. Straight off the cuff. I'd do that tomorrow.
You do seem like you're someone who doesn't live with any regret at all and just is moving on to the next thing, no matter what. And it could be anything that appeals to your attention. How do you feel like you pick things that, do things just come into your mind? You feel like you would enjoy them, or how do you pick things that you want to spend your time on?
When we came here, we were coming up to look at other properties with Nick and myself. Nick had organised to go and see 6 properties in the area. We were early. So we stopped at the cafe, not where we were, at Pete's Ridge Cafe. I had a look in the real estate window, the hairdresser's window, and there was a canoe in the river at Bucketty, property at Bucketty, just come on the market. It wasn't one of the ones we were coming to see. It was held by the same agent, some kid's agency. So when we caught up with Michael that day, I said to him, "Can we go have a look at this property?" "Oh, well, we'll do that first." The top gate was locked. We were coming off the road, so we had to walk all the way in because it wasn't the first property, it was this property. So we walked all the way down here, saw this. As soon as I saw this, I went, "Man, I love it. This is beautiful." We went and had a look at the other properties. Tuesday, I said to Nick, I said, "Mate, I love the first property. The first property ticks more boxes for me than the other properties." So on the Tuesday of that week, I rang up Michael Kidd and said, "Mate, we'll take the property, want to come have a second look at it." And he went, "Oh, righto." Then he gazumped to me for 20 grand. He said, "Oh, there's somebody else who wants the property as well." So I said to him, I said, "Well, put in another $20,000 on the deposit and release the deposit to the vendors, which is an unusual thing to do. But it gives the person selling the opportunity to spend that money straight away instead of waiting for 3 months or 4 months settlement before they get their money. Release the deposit. So you run a risk, because if anything happens to them, then you're caught up in probate. So it could be a year before you get your money back. You wouldn't lose your money, but you wouldn't get it back quickly. So, but I just felt so connected. I said, no, release it. They said, well, we'll take Evans to buy. So we paid $440 for this 36 acres here. And that's just the way it was. It's just in that moment. I went, I love it.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful that you've kind of allowed your intuition and your desires to be a compass in your life. Like you come and it feels right for you, so you do it. You have a desire to go and, play the drums, so you go and do that and jump on tour. I think that's probably been like a big compass in your life, is what feels good for you. Well,
it does. The little shack over here that I built with my neighbour John up the road there, there's 15 trees off the property went into that too for the uprights, but they're all ironbark. All my posts are all ironbark. But you can't obviously see them because they're inside. So that was never a plan. It just kind of happened. I wanted to live in the shed. I was just going to live upstairs in the mezzanine in the shed, but then I thought, oh no, why not build a little studio? So it's magic. And when I go for a walk around the property, and you're down there and you look back up there, I feel like I'm looking at the $10 million mansions at Palm Beach, set in the bush, quiet. It's like,
it's so peaceful here. It is, for anyone like listening, it is just such a beautiful view. All these trees, beautiful grass on a nice hill, and it's just,
I think the hill makes it, hey? So just the fact that you're looking sort of out beyond sort of a valley type look.
You're in line with the tree canopy, your eyes pretty much.
Well, the back of the property, there is a walk, there is a walk up the hill here, because we go right up to the top of the hill, up there. Now there's three, one, two, the second level, then there's the top. The first level, you're seeing over the tops of these trees, just here, but you go to the second level and you're over the top of the far ridge. You can start to see down the far ridge, and it's just spectacular. And you go to the top of the hill and you've got 280 degree view.
Wow.
We've got west, all the way around to the east.
That's
just about the east. It's unbelievable. Some of the sunsets is like the horizon is on fire. It's like the right cloud formation,
I think just any time of year this property would be amazing. Like right now it's an overcast day, it's been a bit rainy, but it's so beautiful here.
The rainy day here is just so nice. It just darkens all the colours on the trees. It's just...
Yeah, I'd love for you to tell us about your trip across Australia. So to give context, you decided to deliver a case of beer from like the furthest point that you could ride to, which for where we are was Broome. So you jumped on the motorbike and rode across Australia for 3 months to deliver a case of beer.
I went from Bucketty's because there's good marketing for Bucketty's, as you'll read in the little program thing there. But what I wanted to do was go for the big bike ride. I got the bike, I got a little camper trailer behind the bike, which is in the photograph, and I set off. I was going to go for 3 months. It was the allocation time, 3 or 4 months. There was no real time frame on me, because it was probably the last of the big rides before the body packs up, although I'm going to go off again. I enjoyed it very much. But I took off and went, all right, I go to Cairns first. I go and see friends up the East Coast, because I've got a lot of friends and family, old roadies, places or people I know. So I went up to Cairns. Then from Cairns I come back down to Mount Isa. From Mount Isa, went up to Darwin. I've got my sister up there, so I stayed up there, did some fishing up there with a brother. Darwin, then come back down to Katherine. And I'm taking in landscape all the time. Instead of riding through a town, I'd ride into town, and then I'd go off and go round the block. go around, go up this street, down that street, just looking. Yeah, just to have a look at things. Catherine, and then went from there across to Broome. Stayed in Broome for about 9 days because it was really hard. It was really hard to tee up the people from the newspaper and the hotel owner to make the presentation. It wasn't that easy to do, but remarkable. Riding into Broome, this is one of those things being a MacTab moment. I'll tell you about MacTab in a sec. The MacTab moment is you are where you're supposed to be. I rode into Broome looking for the Roebuck Hotel. I'd never been to Broome. So I ride in, went around the block here, drove up this street. There's somewhere I can park with the trailer out the back of the bike. Stopped, turned the bike off. Oh fuck! There's the Roebuck Hotel. Unbelievable. Yeah, there it was, the Roebuck Hotel. I thought, far out. Okay. Got off the bike, went in, met the secretary who I had made some emails with, and come out of there, and I was walking back across the road to the bike, and there's the Broome Advertiser newspaper office. So I went straight upstairs and met the editor, all on the same day, by just pulling up somewhere where I didn't even know where I was, but I was in the right place at the right time. A MacTab moment. The MacTab comes out of a book called The Alchemist, 137-page parable book. It's a beautiful story. It's all about a young man's journey in his life. And the thing is, it's a journey of discovery, but what he discovers is he already knew everything that he's gone off to discover. It was already there. So MacTab is like it's meant to be. If you go somewhere and say you're going to the movies or to a restaurant or somewhere and you're looking for a park, car pulls out, you pull in, and you happen to be outside the place that you wanted. MacTab. The universe is obligated to give you what you want. The only thing you can't control is the when and the how many. Like, there's been times I've been thinking about girls. I like girls, there's no mistake about that. But suddenly you might end up with 3 girls. Suddenly, instead of just having one girl, nice and simple, and sort it all out, but suddenly you met 3. What do you do? So MacTab moments, I love MacTab. Whenever I think something is right, that's a MacTab moment. It's just meant to be. You guys, we were able to meet at the Kulnura Day just because it worked out just right to do that. So that was a MacTab moment.
Even us just meeting the first time at the Sunsets Festival.
Yeah.
If we didn't bump shoulders, if we didn't open a little bit of conversation, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing now.
For us, you were already backstage. We were potentially not going to be backstage. So if we didn't go and seek that, we wouldn't have met. Well, we may have, but likelihood is no. Yeah. Which is just funny. You just think about those moments. So you just got to, I think the lesson from that is you just got to take opportunity.
Take and make. I think make opportunity. A lot of people wait for things to happen, but we're so capable. We're so capable, and we can go out and grab something if we want to get it. Don't wait for it to come to you. Just go out and get it. Reach out and grab it if you really want it.
Yeah. I love the belief. People go, door closes. Why? Things are meant to happen. Another door opens. It's not. There is. It's all about keeping it positive. Marty's up in the shed.
It's a good line. It's a clip.
Marty, that's the first one you come down the road. You'll be the first one you meet.
Kyle, this is the clip.
And then I'll
get ready.
It's number 5, road 5.
Kyle. Hey, KE,
200
this right here, it's going to be a clip. It may be 10-15 seconds, but get ready. It's a clip, buddy. Maybe even 2 if you're lucky. If I'm feeling generous.
Righto. See you soon, Cameron. Bye. That's great. Electrician.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Is that for the
the
No,
shed.
no, he's a local fella that I did Santa for over Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
I've known him for a couple of years, but I didn't know what his gig was.
Mm.
But he's
Yeah.
an industrial electrician,
Oh, there you go.
which we're waiting on a guy to come up from Sydney to do the power for Marty.
Yeah,
Marty's
that's what I was
mate.
going to ask.
And
Yeah,
I said, mate, let's get someone local,
Mm.
yeah. If we,
and Cameron's going to come down and have a look. If the guy in Sydney got his shit together and come up and started to do the immediate job for Marty, would use him. But if this guy comes today, I'm going to show him the long-term plan for the brewery, because we want local knowledge for that. But if he is able to get started for us, then
That'd be
the
great.
guy in
Yeah.
Sydney just have to wait.
Yeah.
Oh, lose the job, lose the just bad
Gig.
luck.
Yeah.
He's fucked us. Well,
Yeah.
he's stuffed us around quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I'll come up next week or come up next week. Well, it's a big haul. He's got to
Yeah.
make a move.
which is fair, but if you can't say you are if you're not.
No, he shouldn't. He should have said, no, I can't get there.
Yeah.
Because we've been waiting for months. 3 months we wait for electricity
Yeah.
to get enough power for us.
Yeah, we were talking about opportunity and how in life a lot of people say like, oh, one door closes so another door opens, but I think what people quite often forget is doors have handles, and like you're capable of going out and opening another door for yourself. And to come back to your pizza analogy that you said earlier, like I think people wear victim mentality in life and carry that around and probably blame life for cutting up the pizza in uneven sizes, and like my greed one's really big, and or whatever it is. But I think people often forget, like, they're the ones holding the pizza cutter as well. Like you cut the slices where you want. If you want to be more generous, you can cut a bigger slice, be more generous. I wanted to say those two things.
That's very good. That's really good. That's a good perception for the young person, because I was talking about doing a talk with the motivations for people. Give them a blank book. I've got a draft of how I would want to do it. And the first page you put a dot. That's today. That's today's date. Now, how old do you think you're going to live for? I don't know. I'm going to live till 60. All right, so that's up there. And where are you? It means how old are you now? Well, let's say you're 30, so you're halfway. So you got back here. So you've got half your life is history, and you've got half your life for 60 years, your future. And then start to build from a blank page, all around a journey. Every journey begins with one step. The first step, cross a river, little steps, little steps, little steps. You'll eventually get across the river. All these analogies in life, I just love them, and want people to adapt something for themselves. How do you see yourself? What do you see yourself? What's something you'd like to be? I just love all this.
Self-authoring, like authoring your own life.
Yeah, in a sense, for sure.
Just looking at the lessons that life provides you, like whether it is going for a bushwalk, or as Marty was saying, when he was in New Zealand standing in like a mineral bath and saw all these people gathered around, how he thought how cool it would be to build like a bigger version of that kind of seating and bring people around. And now at Bucketty's you have like the social circle, I think it's called, where it's a big seating platform, and that whole like reality was birthed from this idea he had whilst in New Zealand. And I think there's lessons all around us at all times. We just have to open our eyes and look for them,
For sure. Definitely.
and have the ears to hear them as well, for sure.
You'll see the seat when you go to Bucketty's. It's out the front. It's just a big circular seat. But it's only been there for a couple of weeks now, and it is just awesome. I go over and talk to the people around and say, "Oh, what do you think about a new bit of furniture?" We love it. We love it because it makes them all engage with each other. So tick that box, and you know about Nick with when they closed us down there at COVID. They closed the brewery 2.5 months after we opened. We were closed. They closed us at 6 o'clock that night. At 8:30, we had taken down the fence, pulled up a roller door, moved the snooker table, moved the stage, and created a drive-through. For the next 3 months, people were able to come there, drive through, pick up their beer, and go out the other end again. That's entrepreneuring. That's someone.
It's adapting, and again, it's not having the victim mentality. This sucks. Why is this happening? It's not cool. Just another hurdle. I'm going to jump over it and keep going.
Because everyone's in the same boat. It's like, who's going to make the difference? You know what I mean? Who's going to take the leap?
Yeah, it's sink or swim in those situations.
Well, we wouldn't have quite sunk, but we certainly wouldn't have been in the position we're in now, because we would have been so far behind the 8 ball. Yeah. But just let me tell you, you see the silver gum down there, the biggest one you can see through.
Yeah.
That's on our property on this side of the creek.
Yeah.
That down there, if we stood around, put our arms together, we wouldn't get around the base.
Wow.
There's a cave or been eaten out of it you can hide in, but on the other side there's 2 other gum trees down there so deep down, and they are ginormous trees, and we love the trees. I've got the hug me tree down here, which is the first go down the hill, the hug me tree. I think it's the first. There's 2 there parallel.
Yeah.
I think it's the first one. I need to see the base of it.
Yeah.
But you go down there, and everybody who walks around the property, I insist they go up, give it a scratch, write their initials with their fingernails on the bark. It is strong. You feel the connection of the tree in the earth. It is just awesome. A healing. There's healing goes on here. Yeah, the hug me tree. That's one of the features of the property.
So cool.
Yeah.
That is great.
And we had a fire. I'll tell you, one of the fires that we had here was, I'd been down in Sydney to Uncle Max's funeral. It was a Wednesday. Nick and Alexia were coming up to have their 10-year anniversary. So I had been pulling weeds and branches out of the dam down there and building a fire right on the edge of the dam. So I built a little fire, went to Sydney, had Max's funeral, come home a Wednesday night. I thought, you know what, I'm going to go down and light the fire tonight for Max, just to have a commemoration, a quiet moment, because Max Butler is one of the butlers, and I worked for butlers for those years. And lit the fire, beautiful fire, no problem at all. Went down Thursday morning, make sure because you always go back and check your fires, a good practice, everything was right. Pulled out more stuff out of the dam, put it on top of where the fire had been, boom, 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 left it. So that was the Thursday. On the Friday, I got a phone call at 1:30 in the afternoon from Stan, our neighbour up the road there, and said, "Oh, you have a fire at your place, Roger?" Because it's in fire season. I'm not supposed to have any fires. I went, "No, I've got no fire here." He said, "Oh, you look like smoke." Well, John the builder, we had just finished my shack, and he's given me the keys to the front door, because it was going to be my first night in there. So I thought, well, we better go down and have a look. So we went down to the dam to have a quick look, and the whole inside of the dam wall was aflame. It was burning, because the stuff I pulled out, put it on the hot coals that were still hot, had dried out on the Thursday. Come Friday morning, I noticed at 1:30 the wind had changed. I was commenting to John, I said, "Oh, it's a wind change." I don't know why I would ever say that. It was a wind change, but the wind changed direction, which was just enough to make the amber. They dried the wet stuff out. They ignited, caught the fire wall. When we went down there, I gone, oh my shit! I mean, it was serious here.
Yeah.
So we got I went, no worries, I'll start the pump, because I've got a fire hose down there. Started the pump, no water. The umbilical cord from the pump into the dam, so you have a cord that sucks the water into the pump.
Yeah, pumps it out.
Burnt through.
Oh.
So then after that, I have had, the fire went up that hill that way, and up the hill that way. 96 brigade call outs. 2 helicopters for the 3 days. Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I felt like, because it was my fault. I started, when they said houses are under attack, then the fire brigade had to leave here to go up to protect the houses. That's their first obligation. So it crested to the top of the hill. No, fortunately, a back porch got burnt out. I got a $5,000 fine for having the fire. It was purely an act of God, but that was a big bushfire here. And people came up afterwards and said, "Thanks very much. You've thinned the bush out," because they've never had any
Anything come through.
any burnout, so they have a lot of rubbish on the ground. Because that's one of the perils of being in this bush here. And last year or the year before, when they had the main bushfires, we were here. The fires were way out there. There was a Wallambai. They were down in the Hunter. They were down at they were down that way, down there.
South,
Yeah, and they were all just slowly creeping because they were weeks. The Georgetown Drive was closed. You couldn't drive in. Residents only. And I was working as Santa, so I was going down to Sydney every day and coming back and just waiting. But fortunately, they said it's going to hit Bucketty on Tuesday or Wednesday. On the Monday, there was the wind changed direction. So slowed the fire down that was coming this way. They were able to get a substantial fire break in, and it petered out. It didn't come this side of the road.
What is it?
Mactab, yeah, The Alchemist, a good book.
Yeah, one of my mates has recommended it to me.
Yeah, read it. It's a great book.
Yeah.
There's one little bit of religious stuff in the middle of it, a bit of Allah and things, but it's nothing not worth reading. But yeah, but it's a great story. You already have the answers. You just got to look in yourself, use your.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a quote from a famous photographer that I love, and he says, shit, I'm gonna mess it up. Something along the lines of you're not gonna find yourself outside. Like, all the change you want to see occurs before you leave your front door in the morning. And it's just speaking of a lot of people try and find themselves out on the road or, out in life and figure it all out externally, but all the change has to come before you leave your front door. It's all inside yourself.
Yeah, self holds the answers. I did write a song in school, and one of the lines was, "Questions in your mind, answers there you'll find." That's what I've got it written down. That's one of the only bits I remember of it. It's in one of my boxes over there from school days. But it was a song about that. Questions in your mind, but answers there you'll find. And I think that's fairly poignant,
You're right.
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, so that was the bushfire, but one of the bushfire stories. There was another fire here. But
that's freaky. I can't imagine the stress of that, because where we live, there's not, I'm in Terry Hills, and I know there was a bushfire, and I think it was 84 or something, but that was well before my time. And ever since then, I've never had any real threat of our house burning down or anything. But to live literally amongst the bush and have a fire literally on your property, I can't imagine the stress
and
and
control,
the fear.
Well, that one was the pump had gone. I felt like, I don't know if a prior is the right word, but I felt so ashamed of myself because it was my fire, and I was in the fire brigade, so I was in my yellows and trying to fight the fire. I couldn't do any more fighting, but none of the people knew how the fire started at that stage. And when I saw all the resources that they sent out to fight this one fire, because it was a substantial.
Yeah, clearly, yeah.
Substantial fire. This other fire that you see here now, that was a controlled burn from last year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it started with a fire that I lit down the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I built 7 fires down there.
Okay.
Because I cleared the hill. See, I cleared the hill of all the shrubs, built the fire.
That's amazing how a controcontrolled burn can be so close to houses. We're talking
Well, they let it come up.
15 meters.
I had to ring the fire brigade because 2 fires started. The wind was picking up on the day, and I'd used up my tank of water. I couldn't use the rake anymore to run from that one to get down to another one because it was only travelling slow. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to. This is just going to keep getting more and more. I rang the brigade. They came, and when they came here and sized it up, they went, all right. Well, what we'll do is we'll let them all catch on, and they had their fire trucks here and let it burn up the hill. But when I came back down, just off this corner, the fire had started to come up the hill. They straight away got into that there, because it would have burnt my fucking house.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it starts going anywhere upwards, that's going to just light your house.
That's the scary thing, especially for someone like you that loves like tangible assets, like in your shed is full of just random bits and bobs from over your lifetime. You know, those only come around once, and have that burn down, it's all gone.
It's gone.
And that is what's scary. And I think there is a lesson in that. It shows, like, I personally take, like, trying to not get too attached to materialistic things, although I am quite sentimental, not as much as you. But
Well, yeah.
yeah,
Some of it I feel emotionally attached to. Other stuff is just stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a value to it.
oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I just find myself, or trying to not allow myself to get too attached to materialistic things, knowing that, you know, one day they won't be here, or they could go just like that. But I think what you have is awesome, and you have the space for it, so it makes sense.
Yeah, well, 2 40-foot shipping containers, 2 20-foot shipping containers, a shed. I built the mezzanines up in the shed. I got 106 drums in the other end up, this other end up here. Oh, I need stopping. I need help. I don't go to the auctions anymore. Yeah. But I do pick up stuff at the side.
Yeah, you saw. What's that? Do the double back, turn around, double check.
Only yesterday, I brought home that little wardrobe on wheels there, the little white thing.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm gonna hang my gong off it. Bong. I got a gong there for the drums.
There
So
you
when
go.
I saw it, I thought,
Useful.
I'll have a look at that, and it's perfect for the job.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd want to touch on or talk about?
Oh, mate, been great. I did have the tennis match with David Bowie.
No way.
I had a game of tennis with David. Not a game. That's a bit exaggerated. It was 1978. It was they were unloading his shipping containers at the Horden Pavilion to set up to do to unload and check out all the equipment. That wasn't where the concert was going to be. They were going to go do it at outdoor concert on the Sydney Showgrounds. But they had to the customs had to come and check all the containers. So there was Chuggy. Paul Dainty, who was the promoter, Bowie was there, and they were down on the floor of the Horden Pavilion, and Chuggy said, "Roger, get over here." Yeah, well, get the tennis racket. So just on the floor of the Horden Pavilion, before they're unpacking, before Bowie's doing anything, he's just wandering around killing time. So we had a hit of the tennis ball with that. It lasted about 6 or 7 minutes. I'm not a tennis player. Then one of them got a phone call. They had to go off and do something else, so it didn't last. But I played tennis with David Bowie, that is true. In America, we went over to do, for the Paralympics, we made a double album called Wave to the World for the Paralympics. We did one album in Nashville, which is a country music album. We had people like Dolly Parton come and sing it. I got her to sign my T-shirt. I still have it there. It said Hollywood. She got the Texter pen and rubbed out the H and put a D there for Dollywood, which is her thing. So I met her. I met all the other country music stars, and then in LA we did the more contemporary album with songs. We had 3 songs that were. People gave us songs, like Police gave us a song, Elton John gave us a song that we could put on the album because it was a fundraiser album for the Paralympics, bigger than Ben-Hur. But here's the outstanding part. My partner then, who was a very, very dear friend, still a very dear friend, he's in a bit of trouble at the moment, but he'll get through all that. He was so driven. We had a letter from our Prime Minister in Australia then, John Howard, who gave us a letter that said, "Please help this cause. This is a really good cause." We had Michael Jackson sing a line on the song.
Oh my goodness.
We had Ray Charles sing a line on the song. We had all the Who's, Jimmy Barnes, Marsha, all the Who's Who all sang a line like, "Take a pinch of white blood." You'd sing that. "Had a bit of snow," they would sing another. So everybody sang a different line, edited it all together till we got this Wave to the World double album. It was completed. Michael Jackson. Philby went to Michael's house, met Mrs. Jackson and the rest of the family. Met Michael, of course. So he sang his one line on the song. "We are the world." Anyway, I was years later. The album didn't get it's a terrible story here. We had to have the proof of the album back in Australia, let's say in January. Well, it was 3/4 of the way through January. We still hadn't got it back here. They were still editing and mixing tracks in the States. So it was late. So it's getting too close for the Paralympics starting. So Chuggy just put together a compilation album of Australian artists and made that the official fundraiser, even though the organisation, the Paralympics organisation, we had their blessing. We were going to deliver for them a double album that would have made squillions of dollars. We had the artists who were prepared to come out to be part of the opening concert.
Oh, wow.
To come out and be part of that. We had a deal with Qantas to fly them all out. Stuff was all set in place. But because we got the proof here too late, Chuggy gazumped us. So the album was produced, but was never put in the marketplace. Never got out into the marketplace. But years later, I've only ever managed one band, a band called Simply Bushed, and we got them a gig from Tamworth. I got them a gig that following year to be on the country music boat cruise, which was an 8-day tour off the Australian coast. Went to Samoa. Anyway, the Solomon Islands, beg your pardon, went to the Solomon Islands, Samoa, Solomon Islands, and we're out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I'm in the duty-free shop looking to buy something for a girlfriend. And I heard the song. I thought, that's our song. That's our Wave to the World song. It was Michael Jackson. It took a minute or two for him because he never heard it on the radio. And here I was in the middle of the frickin' ocean. They played the song. I went up to the guy at the shop and I went, mate, what are you listening to? He said, it's just a tape, a thing. I said, can you play that again for me? Believe it or not, we made that record.
Wow.
So we're in the middle of the fucking Pacific Ocean, listening to Michael Jackson singing the one line out of the song that I recognised and went, oh shit, that's our album. That's our song.
So crazy.
Man, dude,
Middle of nowhere.
it's just unbelievable that should happen. That should have happened. It was like, I don't know. I mean, and the album exists. It's there. I got a hard copy. I can show you. It's all there. The whole story. But we could have raised millions of dollars for the Paralympics if the committee had been a little bit more compassionate to us running a bit late, because it was really hard.
Yeah, of course. If you got multiple of those artists too, and then to come together, edit that all.
There's a lot to do in making an album. There's a lot to do, and it was a friend of mine who financed it for us, because we were running out of money, and I went to see a mate called Mal Clay, who just recently passed away. But Mal was an entrepreneur. He was a smart man anyway. I said, Mal, we need $300,000, $360,000 to be part of, to finish making this record, because we've got motels to pay for, studio hire, yada, yada, yada. So Mal come on board. He ended up, the project, because of the running on costs, it ended up costing him $800,000.
Wow. And what year was this?
This was 1999.
Wow.
1999 for the year 2000 Olympics, the Paralympics. And Mal, he took me aside after it was all made and after the kerfuffle and after never getting a cent of his money back. But he come up to me and he said, Roger, he said, thank you. I went, well, thanks. I mean, I introduced Mal to Philby, to the production side of things. 300,000 became 800,000, so it was another $500,000. And he thanked me, Mal. What for? He said, mate, he said, if I hadn't gone through that process, that learning, that 12 months or whatever it was, 14 months of time, I wouldn't be in the position that I am currently in. And Mal was quite a high flyer. He was with the Australian Defence Department, and he had things like drone cannons and special fire extinguishers. He lived most of the last 5 years of his life. He's lived in Dubai. And he was a businessman over there. They made a lot of money. So $500,000 at the time sounded like a lot, but he was grateful because for that experience. and put him in good stead for whatever for the other things that he did. So it was like, well, okay, I'll take it. Thanks, Mal. And yeah, unfortunately, Mal just passed away only a few weeks ago, really. Yeah, okay. And when I was on the trip with the bike around Australia, Broome, down to Perth, Mal had come back from Dubai to have his blood thing that he had to do every 6 weeks. He had to come and have platelets or something done with his blood or something to do with his disease. And so we were able to spend a week and a half together, which we were, in our whole career of knowing each other, we were lucky if we ever spent more than 4 hours together.
Wow.
In anything. We were mates.
Special week and a half.
Oh, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. And at that stage, although he had slowed down, lost a lot of weight, it was all keeping it positive. Yeah, he's going to be all right. He's got to come do this, come do that. But eventually the disease overpowered him and took his life. But yeah, but that was a blessing, and I'm grateful for that week and a half, because he was a dear friend. Because when he first came to me, he needed advice off me. He was coming into the balloon business, doing inflatables. Well, we already were in the inflatable business, so I was a bit of a mentor or a help for him, and then he helped with us when we made the record, and we've just been friends we've been friends for 30 odd years. You know, they're good friendships. I like long-term friends, and I like having young people in my life. You know, I'm 70 now, or very close, but I think it's one of those little things, my ability to, well, not my ability, but the happenings that young people cross paths. I'm happy to engage, and it keeps me young. If you surround yourself with young people, you feel young. It does.
No doubt, yeah.
So I think that just, I don't know, it just keeps going. One day at a time, though.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the best I can come up with.
You got triple A.
Yeah.
I reckon we got to talk about Santa, like the beard. Yeah. So you've been growing a beard for how many years?
Well, I've always had a hairy face. Always had hairy faces, but this particular year, this beard now is about 3.5 years. This one. That's right, yeah. It wasn't that long ago. There was no beard, chopped off for the kids. But as my grandchildren, I needed a job. So Westfields were paying $35 an hour for Santas. Wow. Even though I am a bit thin, but they put you in a beautiful suit, fatten you up with a bit of pillows and a false beard. So that was my first year with Westfields, $35 an hour at Hornsby. I've got some amazing moments as captivated as Santa. Things that triggered me to go, you know, this is not an easy job. The little girl asked me, Santa, she's sitting next to me, Mum's over with the photographer over there getting ready, because at Westfields, all they want you to do is 2 minutes with the kid, get a photograph and get them out, get the next. That's their Santa job. That's not Santa's job. Santa's, when I went to Santa school, there was like 19 or 20 odd blokes, old blokes, been doing it for years, but one of the old Santas said, no, it's engage with the children. Try and get something with the children, because they're the little they come there, they don't know, they've got a fictitious person they've only seen in books and things.
Hero.
They walk up to the edge of the stage set, and suddenly you're larger than life. They burst into tears. They're tears of joy. They're overwhelmed and don't know what else to do, because they're only little kids, so they cry. That's what, and we do in movies. You get caught up in sentimental movies even now. I don't know about you, Blakes, but I have a bit of a moment.
Yeah.
But so this little girl was in one of my first shifts, and she said, Santa, can you make my mummy well?
Wow. Jeez.
My first, well, what we can do, I fumbled my way through it. I was caught off guard. I wasn't expecting it. You're not allowed to make a promise as a Santa. You can only try and frame things that she's getting a good help and all the rest of it. The mother heard. She turned around and looked at me. We got through the little interview. then I took a break from the photographer and said, mate, I just need a minute. I got up, went around behind the set and just had a moment for myself to try to recompose, because I do show my emotions a little bit. I do get a little bit, but moments like that, when I do Santa on the beach, the women's group, they've come now for the last 3 years. 3 years ago when they came, the mothers group came, there's like 10 or 12 mothers and they've all got their little ones. There's one mother carrying a photograph. Well, her youngster had only passed away 3 weeks or 4 weeks before the Santa photo had been organised, but the other mothers said to her, come along, be part of it. Well, she's come 3 years now. She brings the photos, and I've had a talk to her about, would you mind if I included that bit of story, not you personally, but that the concept of that story in my Santa story. And she said that's fine. But that's a real personable. They're moments of real connection in life, because she wanted to be part of the Santa thing for her youngster who's no longer there. So all I could do is welcome her and acknowledge the photograph and things. And then there was special needs, another one at another time where they all came. There must have been, I don't know, 10 special needs children and adults. They were some of them were 30. But there's the photograph where every one of those people and their minders, the minders are in the photograph and the special needs, and they're all looking at the camera for the one moment, which they said. He said that's impossible. It never happens because they don't all focus on the same thing. They're off looking at the Christmas decorations and things. So I've got that shot. My grandsons, who inspired me to be the Santa, didn't know it was me when Emma bought her little kids the first time. They weren't sure because I had a fake beard. But it was after that Santa then that I went, well, next year I'm just going to let it grow. So now I've let it grow. And for the last 3 years I've let it go crazy. But it brings me so much pleasure because the role that Santa has, some of the kids, because the different ages in the children, some kids mature quick, slow. They all come, they love. It's all about presents. You engage with the kids. How was things at school? What do you want to do when you grow up? Or what would you like for Christmas? Yada 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 yada. And then you get the older kids who come up. Oh, there's no such thing as Santa. Well, the ones that went to the right age group. When I had the false beard, I'd lift the false beard and say, "Oh, have a tug of that. That's a real beard under there. I'm the real Santa." Oh, you are the real Santa. So I tell them the story. All the other Santas have just come down to help me, and I've just come down to check on the other Santas. Hence, that's in the story. Why Santa comes every year somewhere in the world to see what the other Santas are doing, making sure they're looking after the kids. So there's a bit of that into the story. But now the kids who do come at 13, 14, 15, no such thing as Santa. But I promise you this, when they grow up and they have their own families and they get their own children, you can bet your bottom dollar that there'll be Santa, because parents love that Santa bring you a present. You get presents, The kids makes the kids happy. So it's a bit like the role of a demigod. It's not that it's not for my ego. It's for the role of the Santa. There's not many things in our lifetime that gives us that magic. It's a harmless magic. People go off, oh, it's commercialised, it's all this, it's all that. Well, it can be, but it's about giving. And my side of it is Santa was a toy maker. He used to make toys for the children.
And that's the thing, like, look at what it does for the kids, how much joy it brings them. And like Santa, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, like these are all heroes in children's lives. And if you can create the character and like put in good morals behind Santa, and I think a lot of movies and cartoons do that, like it helps bring kids up to be better people in the world, because it's like, I want to be like Santa. Santa's a loving, giving man.
It promotes it, especially at Christmas time, just the time you spend with more family and friends, and just time to stop and reflect. It helps us with that, even if you take like the presents out of it. It's like just having time to be caring and loving with your family.
Well, with the children, I always try to drop in. It's not about what you get; it's about what you give.
Yeah.
That's my on my side. That's a little. I don't push it down their throat.
No, yeah.
But when the opportunity presents itself, I'll
Yeah.
always say, well, it's always better to give. If you've got something you're going to give to your mum, what do you want to, you know? Right? 'Cause I've got all my Santa letters over there that I've ever been. Whenever I've been to Santa and the kids give me the letters, I'm making a big scrapbook out of it. I just love it because they're all so individual. There's personal letters there. It's just a roll, and it stimulated me a little bit of income. I mean,
definitely.
I got a little bit of income out of it. But this year past, I did a lot I went to schools this year just for the preschools, for the little kindergarten, and just for the sake of being Santa, not for the rewards. And we did a fundraiser for the women's shelter in the Northern Beaches Women's Shelter, and so Lexi made a Santa one of the lots to come visit the house. So she got $250 for a 20-minute appearance of Santa at the house. And when I went to the house down at the Spit Bridge, oh my God.
Oh, that would have been nice.
I walked into the house, it was like, you are kidding.
Yeah.
This house is
Every day's Christmas.
Yeah. Is it like on that like kind of hill that goes up?
not it's on the northern side or the southern side, tucked into the trees, but it's the last house, the first house where you're overlooking the Spit, looking across at that well-developed hill that you see when you're coming down from the travelling north. It was just tucked away. And they were really, really nice people. She was Dutch, the wife, and it was for the children. And they obviously had a lot of money because they also bought the. We put a weekend at Bucketty's up here. They also bought that. I think they paid $1,000 for a 2-night stay up here.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
So you'll just give it to them, mate. It's there. This is a 4-bedroom house. So I said to Nick and Alexi, why don't we turn it into a homestead?
Yeah.
You know, you could.
So many people would come and say.
The thing is, you don't want to get the people that are then disrespectful to your property, because you don't want to get a house full of rat bags who just have a party and go hard, drink, throw cans in the bottles in the pool and shit. So anyway, this is their place. I give them that. I got my place. I got one room in there as my room.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We wrap up every podcast with a challenge. So we like it to come from the guest, and basically it can be anything related to what we're talking about or anything you want. And basically it's a challenge that we'll complete throughout the week that this podcast is released. So like, for example, for some ideas, people have challenged us to pay it forward. People have challenged us to learn a new skill, challenged us to go surfing, take more risks, just anything. So
it can be anything.
Yeah, just take your
as long as
time.
you can do it in that
And
week of the podcast.
yeah, we'd love a challenge to come from you.
Michael, just help me understand this. So are you saying this podcast runs for a week?
No. So
Because we release our podcast once a week.
Yeah, so when we release it throughout that week, we will complete the challenge for whatever you challenge us to do. You can take your time and think of something.
All right. Well, just give me a few moments.
Yeah.
Something you do individually or something you've got to do together?
It can be individual, it can be together.
Anything you can
Creative
think of.
freedom.
We sort of like it to come from the guest because like we've obviously talked about a bunch of stuff today, and there's always going to be an underlying theme. It's just something that maybe you've done for you that helps you, I guess, live a little bit more rather than just simply exist.
Oh, maybe you could do that. Maybe you could do the deliveries for the brewery one week. So you can be our little brand ambassadors.
Sure, yeah.
Deliver it's only around, it's only locally, but
we could tee something up.
Yeah, we go, because there's about 4 or 5 deliveries each week, whereas if someone's ordered a case of beer, you got to go.
Yeah, is it like to bottle shops or to
Some have been to the bottle shops. There's been a restaurant where I drop off a keg, and others have been just a box of beer delivered.
And I think the theme of that could be obviously you giving us the opportunity to meet people who are in different industries and a part of the Bucketty's community, because it's such a great people-driven.
Well, that's something. That's quick off the mark.
I like that one. I like that because I think that we can take that and run with the overarching thing that I've experienced today being here in Bucketty and speaking with you is just that real sense of community, and Marty, who we spoke to as well.
Well, I think, no, I'm not telling you what to do, but I think you really owe it to what you do to actually make sure you do something at the brewery. Because otherwise it's like a bookends without the bookend on this side.
You need both sides of it.
You need to see that. So I mean, there's nothing to stop us doing something down there on location. So you can see the other side of the story, this side up here, and see the other side.
And get part 2 down there.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, thank
sure,
you
that
very
challenge,
much for coming on, Roger. That's a lovely challenge, and thank you for your time today, showing us
We
around
appreciate
the
it.
property.
It's been fantastic.
A pleasure. Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks for coming up and showing so much interest. I think it's a great story, and if this all helps to get some story out there.
Definitely. Yeah, and I can't wait to see once the tavern's done and stuff.